morning. Today we are doing PO69. I can calculate the circumference of a circle. We are learning about perimeters and areas of the rectangles, the squares, the parallelograms, the triangles, trapezoids. Now we're going to focus on the circle. With a circle, we have a circumference. Does anybody have an idea of what the circumference, what word would be similar to a word that we've already learned? Melanie? Not area. It's a good guess though. We will learn the area of circles. Was that you, Cameron? Did you say a word? Yeah. The circumference of a circle is like the perimeter of a circle, but we call it circumference. It's the distance around a circle. So it's not the area of it, because remember the area is the inside. This is going around the outside of the circle, like a perimeter. I don't know why they don't call it a perimeter, but that's the circumference is the perimeter of the circle. It goes around the outside of it. So it's how long around the outside. So I'm going to give you the mathy definition of a circle. We know what a circle looks like. We're going to really pay attention to the mathy definition, because the terms that are in the definition are going to help us with the circumference and the area formulas. So a circle is the set of all points that are the same distance called the radius from the center, from a fixed point called the center. The diameter, it is a lot. That's why I said we had to really pay attention, because we need to know what the radius and the diameter. The diameter is the distance across the circle through its center. So if we look at that, the radius, when we look at our circle, the radius is from the center to the outside. So radius is center to the outside, and we call that R. The diameter goes through the center from side to side, and we call that D. How many radiuses are in a diameter? Let's look at that. Our radius goes from the center to one side. Look at our diameter. How many radiuses are in a diameter? How many times does it touch the side? It touches the side twice. Once over here, goes through that center, and once over here. So a diameter is 2 times the radius. Sometimes we're going to know, we're going to be given how much the radius is. Sometimes we're going to be given how much the diameter is. And we need to decide what information we need to answer, to put into our formulas for the circumference and the area. So it's important to understand the radius, the R, goes from the middle to one side. It's half, right? The diameter is that full line from side to side. It's actually two radiuses because it goes from the side to the middle, which is a radius, and from that middle to the other side, which is another radius. So a diameter equals 2 times the radius. That makes sense? When we're looking at it like this, we can see that there's a radius here and there's a radius here. So the diameter is 2 times your radius. So today we're just going to focus on the circumference. So we need to know the formula to find the circumference of a circle. So circumference, we call it C, because circumference starts with the C. Circumference equals 2 times pi times our radius. So if we're given a diameter, they didn't tell me the radius. Uh-oh. What am I going to put in my formula? If I have a diameter of 16, what would I put in there? Give it a quick moment to think about it. Hello, the skate. He is not. He is in Nancy's. Thank you. Yep, bye. Okay, if our diameter is 16, can we figure out the radius? We need the radius for our formula. What was that, Marina? Can we just not fill in part of our formula? I mean, you could do that, but it's going to be wrong. What do you think, Cameron?
Isn't the radius like how many times it's touching?
Mm-hmm. The radius is from the center to the outside. So we know the diameter is from the side to the side going through the radius. Bryn? How did you get 8, Bryn?
Because 8 equals 16.
Remember I said it's one radius plus another radius. We have 2 radiuses to equal 1 diameter. So if you're given that diameter, you have to divide it by 2 to find your radius. So we don't want to just say, I don't know the radius, I'm going to leave it off, because that's not going to give us the correct circumference. And if our garden is a circle garden, or some people like to do a garden around the bottom of their tree, and they're doing that circle around, they need to know how many bricks to go around, they need to know that distance to go around the tree. Well, if you don't put the radius in, you're not going to get the right number of bricks to go around your tree. You need to be sure that you're filling in all parts of the formula. So remember that diameter are 2 radiuses. So we only need 1 radius in our formula. So we would do 2 times pi times 8. And if I do 2 times pi times 8, what do I get, Melanie? If I use the pi button on my calculator, I get 50.24, right?
I got 50.16.
Okay, hold on. Let me find. So there will be 2 acceptable answers. If we do 8 divided by 2 times the pi button on your calculator, because it has all the decimals listed, we get, very careful, look at that. Is that, oh, I divided it by 2. My bad. 8
Oh, that's my calculator.
times 2 times pi. Okay, so I have 50.26548,246 rounding to the hundredths. Is my answer 50.26?
No.
Why not? Why, Marina?
Because the next digit is 5 and 5 we round up.
That next digit is a 5. You have to remember to round. So it's 50.27 if we use the pi button on our calculator. If we use 3.14 and not all of the digits that go after that pi, we would get 2 times 8 times 3.14, and we get 50.24. Because we don't have all of those decimal points. Both of those answers are correct. Okay, so if you use the pi button, I'll know what that answer is. If you use 3.14, I'll know what that answer is. They are both correct. Ava.
But then also, if you just do 16 times 5, you get 15.
I was going to talk about that, Ava. I love that you figured that one out. So, Ava noticed, hey, we have 2 times pi times r. Our diameter, equals, oh my goodness, bless you, equals 2r. Our diameter has 2 radiuses in it. So if I know the diameter, I can just put the diameter in and not multiply it by the 2. So instead of saying 2 times pi times 8, I could just do pi times the diameter. And I get the same answer. So if you have that diameter, you could divide it by 2 to get the radius, and then multiply it by 2 and multiply it by pi. Or we could say the circumference could also be the diameter, or pi times the diameter. So they are both formulas that we can use for circumference. That should be the diameter. So pi times diameter or pi times 2r. Yep, 2r. Pi 2r or pi times the diameter. They both work because the diameter is pi. So it works both ways, given whichever way whatever information you're given. Yes.
Can I use my calculator?
Is yours the one that was over there?
Yeah, because I like my calculator.
Yep. Okay, so pi is basically a special ratio that relates to the diameter of a circle to its circumference. This is where pi comes from. Any circle, no matter its size, will have a circumference of approximately 3.14 times the length of its diameter. So we could say 2 pi r, we could say pi times diameter. Pi is also used to calculate the area of a circle and the surface area and volume of a sphere. So we're going to be using pi. We've already used it before. We've been introduced to pi. Now we're going to really be using it in these next few objectives. Ava.
So there's a 2 equal pi diameter. Can you do that for like the number times pi? Can you do that for all of them or just?
So in order to find the diameter when we're given a radius, that's when we multiply it by 2. Because to go from a radius to the diameter, it's 2 times r. So if you're given just the radius, you have to multiply it by 2 to get the diameter. Then you multiply it by pi to find the circumference. Okay. Good question. Any other questions? So again, if you're given a radius, you have, oh my, I don't know what just happened. If you're given the radius, You have to multiply it by 2 to get the diameter, and then you multiply it by pi. If you're given the diameter straight up, you just have to multiply it by pi. Again, you could do 3.14, or you could do the pi button on your calculator. Numbers will be slightly different, but if you use the pi button, you must round correctly to the hundredth place. If you do not round correctly, it will be wrong. You have to round correctly. You have to look at that thousandths place to know, am I going to round up or is it going to stay the same? Any questions? Remember, Khan Academy is due tomorrow. Math packet number 11 is due next week, Friday. Turn it in early, and I will show you what pages you need to make corrections on and help you with that. Khan Academy due tomorrow. Get it done. Work on past due Khan Academy assignments. If you get past due assignments done, send me an email so I know to check it. If you are watching this at home, we hope you are well and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.